All right, so this is a safe place,
Yes,
and it
please.
generally has to be when you're talking about money. And we understand, yes, that everyone's personal journey is exactly that, a personal, different journey. But I think we all have to go through certain gateways together, and we can share collectively in our learnings. So if you are right now drowning in debt, please listen up. If you're struggling to make ends meet, you are not alone. Today, we're going to explore those murky waters of personal finance and tackle the question that's on everyone's mind: what percentage of our income can we afford to put towards debt without sinking our financial ship?
Oh, a great question indeed. So we've brought in a great guest. Our guest today is Sylvia Walker, a financial planner, a freelance writer, and best-selling author who has surely helped countless people navigate the treacherous waters of debt and emerge financially stable. So, Mzansi, I know you're listening. Buckle up and get ready for a crash course in healthy debt management. Good morning, Sylvia. How are you doing?
Morning, I'm great, thanks.
I think you're coming here as like the messiah to save people from the darkest abyss.
But this is the crazy world that we exist in, is everyone has been put under pressure in ways that I think few of us could have imagined. Obviously, COVID just presented a different world, financially and otherwise. A lot of us are struggling with this notion of debt. I think a lot of people had to push into debt in a way that they never would have dreamt of. Maybe a good place to start is defining what good and bad debt is.
So the difference really is in what you're using the debt for. So let's start with the positive. The so-called good debt is debt. If let's say you've bought a house and you're paying off a house, so it's a tangible asset.
Feeding into an asset.
Yes, it's an asset. Even a car, to a certain extent, I always say a reliable car, but cars, there's a big caveat when it comes to cars.
Yeah, but they do feed into your own personal economy as well.
It's your safety, it's all of those things. So that could also be good debt. And then, of course, education. If you are, doing a course or studying, you're investing in yourself so you can actually earn more money. So those are kind of good, those fall under the realm of good debt. Bad debt is all the other stuff: store cards, credit cards, buying food on credit, buying clothes, all of those consumables. You've long since had the pleasure and you've still got to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's the bad debt.
All right.
Which you end up, and sorry to interject there, but you end up paying about 100 times more than you have originally said. And I think people would be blown away if they knew how much more they were actually paying once that interest is worked into that equation.
Especially a student loan. I mean, some of us are still paying that off. It's crazy. Now, there's so many different types of debt, and you mentioned you can use debt to your advantage, and it can also be a disadvantage. When it comes to something like discretionary spending, can that be justified when it comes to spending money on, let's say, like something like a luxury item, going on a vacation, a luxury purchase, perhaps? Can you justify that as like...
Can you justify that?
I mean, is debt a good thing to get into, or using it to
it's like holiday now, pay later kind of thing.
Yeah. Because we need that holiday.
Just YOLO,
we need it.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, is there a reason? It's an investment in my personal health.
It could be.
So my mental health,
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what I would say? You can go on holiday on debt, as long as you've got the money to pay for it, to back it up.
Yes.
So if you don't have anything to back it up and you're just going to go and incur that 50 or 100,000 rand debt, not a good idea. But let's say you have money invested and you take a gamble, and it's really a gamble, but you say, okay, fine, I'm going to do the holiday on credit, and when I come back, I'm going to disinvest my money to pay for it.
Of course.
Because I think my investment will grow. So that's a gamble, but that's the only circumstances under which you could
have
do that.
a plan.
There is a sliver of positive.
You've got money to back it up. You've actually got something to back it up. You're not
and a plan. And I know things change. This is a fluid system, so I understand that nothing is a certainty. But I suppose we want an equation to work off, if possible. When we're looking at debt repayments and then investing in the future and moving forward in that way, how do we approach the balance of money into debt and money into moving forward? Because that debt is preventing us from moving forward. So what's the mindset there?
So, the thing is, you've only got a certain amount of money to work with. We all have, unless you're a trust fund baby, of course, which very few of us are. So you have your salary, and you can only do with that salary, you can only do what you can do. Absolutely. So if you're going to start incurring debt and end up with a much greater percentage of that salary that's got to service debt, there's less left to do the other things. So it's really about making choices in life. If your choices, or if your priority is just to live for today, and as I said, tomorrow will take care of itself. Some people think like that. Then you're going to rack up all that debt now. But if you say, I need to actually plan for tomorrow, we all got different goals and dreams. you need to structure your budget accordingly. So it's really about choices. And, you know, I always say choices have consequences. So, you know, you make a decision, there are consequences. And it's about being adult about that and manning up and realizing that.
And communicating. I'm realizing more and more the biggest issue I've had in my own personal journey of recovery post-COVID has been more because I'm so in the eye of the storm that I'm not talking to the bank. You can negotiate with your bank. People don't understand that. You can say, give me a 3-month payment holiday on this, so I can squash this, so I can get rid of that payment, that store card that is costing me $3 grand every month of money that doesn't actually exist. It's just interest that's feeding the system. You've got to be able to balance up, but talk.
But you know, people are often embarrassed. So if they're in that debt sort of spiral, they're very embarrassed. And talk, be open, speak to people, you know, get advice if you need to, but get yourself out of it.
I love that. And it's something that I think even people that are maybe in a space where they are possibly out of debt, they're still at risk to getting back into debt. Now, I know this conversation is going to continue, and I know it's something that a lot of us are paying a lot of attention to, so we're going to carry on diving into this. And if you have any questions or want to share your experience, Mzansi, then you definitely want to come through right now. Send us a voice note. Use the number 063 408 8863. It's not often that you get an expert like this that's here to serve you and help you out of the hole, and it is a good conversation that you should be having with the loved ones and the people that are important to you as well, because this is a real situation that we're dealing with.
Trust fund kids, please send us a message as well, just so we can see what life is like on the other half.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining our conversation. Important question, how comfortable are you with debt? I doubt there are many people who are comfortable with it at all, but it's a necessary evil, I think, in most people's lives. And we are, of course, putting it to you guys this morning to join in on that conversation, to tell us how you feel about good and bad debt. So we wanted to hear from you, and again, reiterating that this is a safe place. We wanted to know how you feel about debt, and we've had a couple of great comments coming through. Martha saying, I don't use my credit card regularly because I'm not comfortable with debt. With uncertainty of the economy and repo rate, I'm not considering big purchases on credit. Very, very stable mindset at the moment. Gary Oakham, the OG, if you understand finances and interest and compound interest, you can structure how you can utilize your cash. I use my credit card 90% of the time because of the incredible rewards I get, but make sure that my interest is kept to a bare minimum. If you're going to use your credit, pay it back. Our credit scores absolutely love that. Keep those comments coming, 063 406 8863 if you want to drop us a voice note as well. And in fact, we are back talking with our financial planner and author, Sylvia Walker, about the difference between good and bad debt. And we are trying to get answered this particular question: when did I overspend my financial means? I think a lot of people, unfortunately, cross that line and then look back and realize they've got a situation to fix. Just to reiterate again, because we're not trying to scare people away from a healthy debt or positive debt that can advance you, that can move you forward, be an investment in your education. Just to reiterate the notion of healthy debt, can you distill that into a description for us?
It's really debt that's going to help you to build your own wealth at the end of the day. I suppose that's it in a nutshell. If you're educating yourself, you're going to be able to earn more money. If you're buying a property to live in or an investment property, you're incurring debt. It's an asset that's going to be there for you to sell in future. So it's about building your own wealth.
I like the notion of investment's a great way to encapsulate that. If it feels like you're investing in your future in that way, generally you've found a positive slant. I love that. How much of, and I know you said this is a personal choice as to how much you can afford, but generally, is there a percentage? Do you work off like when I talk about an equation, a baseline of how much debt I should be tackling every month versus kind of other expenses? How do you in your world factor this in?
So there's a rough kind of rule of thumb that you shouldn't be servicing, your debt servicing shouldn't be more than about 35, 36% of your income.
Okay.
The moment it goes over that, then you're over-indebted. So that's a kind of rule of thumb, yeah. So that's paying back on your bond, any credit cards, whatever kind of debt that you have, 35, 36%. But if you think about it, that's a sizable chunk. It's like a third of your money. And, you know, for anybody, actually, I think, rule of thumbs are great, but they don't work for everyone. It's when you reach your level of discomfort. When you no longer, you know, if you get that salary, it goes into your bank account, and after you've paid your debts, if there's not enough for you to live, comfortably with cash for the rest of the month for everything else, then you have a problem.
Then you've got to look at that
And you
equation
should
again.
actually realize that, you should manage your debt, manage that situation so that, as you say, it's not suddenly in hindsight, I'm like, I should have done something about it 6 months
Because
ago.
then it can be out of your control.
Yeah.
And that is a scary place to be. And I'll keep referencing COVID because that was a financial gateway that we've all had to go through. But I think in our industry in particular, we're so used to being able to hustle. And it was always the case of, well, if I need more money, I'm just going to go out and make more money.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. You don't always have that option. What are the consequences of crossing that line, of taking on too much debt, even if it's done under this notion of feeling like you're investing in your future and moving forward, or just desperate and you have to take that money? What could the fallout be?
Yeah, because you could actually, I want to say, you could invest in your education and then not get that great job.
Yeah,
with the unemployment rate
or
in South
change
Africa.
careers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously the impact then is that you need to get help somewhere. You can't sustain, it's like a hamster on a wheel. You can't sustain it. Even if you get the salary and you service the debt and there isn't enough money, you're going to have to go and buy groceries on your credit card, or a week before, swipe, whatever. So you need to then get help. You need to try and get out of that. And like you keep mentioning COVID, which obviously was it impacted many people hugely. But in general, if you have a crisis, a financial crisis, 2 or 3 months maybe is what you should be incurring debt for, just to survive.
Yeah.
But if it becomes longer than that, it mustn't be a habit. You need to then make some dramatic changes. Scale down your property, live smaller, take in a boarder, look at other options, get rid of your car, maybe if you're paying off on a car. So scale down, but make a change, because you don't want to end up 6 months or 12 months down the line with all of that debt on the hope and the prayer that your situation will improve.
And when you talk about compound growth, you get compound debt as well, unfortunately.
Yes.
And when you're paying interest on 5 or 6 sources of money coming in, suddenly you feel that. Absolutely incredible way to look at this, but it's got to be practical. I think if you could leave us with one piece of advice for someone who is at that breaking point, how would you?
I want to say face your realities. So I said earlier, people are embarrassed, and people sometimes also, like the ostrich, they put their head in the sand and they hope it'll go away. It doesn't go away. So my piece of advice is face your realities. Sit and look at your situation long and hard and make a plan to get out of it. You spoke earlier about selling things. I mean, that can be a quick fix.
Yeah.
But as I say, you maybe need to make some big changes in your life. Make those changes. Life is not about having a particular kind of house or particular kind of furnish. It's not about that. That doesn't make you happy. You can actually be terribly unhappy because you're in such a financial tight spot. So face your reality and make the changes that will be lasting in your life.
Yeah, and talk to people about it. You never know who's going to give you that gem, that piece of advice that can change the game. So whether you're in debt, stuck in debt, rooted in debt, or fear that you are heading in that direction, there are changes that you can make to help. Now, I understand it might be easier said than done. I certainly get that. And we wanted to lead by example. So sites like Yaga, it's Y-A-G-A, Yaga, have offered financial relief to people by offering a platform where you can sell high-valued goods in a trusted exchange, which makes a big difference in the space. So we went around the studio and grabbed a few items to list for sale. What makes this so easy is that we can set the value, the means of the delivery, and then there is a healthy exchange process as well, and safety. So we've created a profile and we've uploaded those items, and you'll see them around our studio, and we'll check in with you next week to see if anyone managed to pick up those items. And you'd be amazed at how much there is available, how much help there is out there if you do just talk about it and you communicate. But I cannot thank you enough. I've worked through a lot in my own, I don't know what you charge by the hour, but I'm going to pay you per 3-minute segment. But this has helped me a huge amount. And I think the first step is exactly that. Just take ownership. It cannot be worse than the anxiety of not knowing.
And don't be embarrassed, because lots of people are in the same boat.
And trust me, on every level of life, people are sweating right now. So don't judge yourself. Take judgment out of the equation completely and ask for help if you need it.